Today we're going to cover the service procedure for a Watts 009 bronze RPZ 15 to 50mm. In this procedure I will cover the repair of the first and second cam checks and the relief assembly. For this service procedure we only require two tools. Firstly, crescent, secondly, screwdriver. Step 1. Isolate incoming water through isolation valve number 1. Step 2. Isolate downstream isolation valve. We then have to bleed any water pressure inside the valve by opening up the test point 1, 2 and 3. Once the valve is bled down, we notice there's no discharge coming through the relief valve. We then loosen off the two bolts at the top of the unit. Once these are loosened, we can then remove these by hand, put down in a safe place. Once bolts are removed, we will notice that the top plate will lift up. When we remove the top plate, we come across our relief assembly. The relief assembly comes out of the top plate like so. So now we remove the relief spring and place to one side. Next we remove the plastic retainer. We now take our screwdriver, put carefully into the check body and move backwards like so. Once check is sitting in the body, we can then remove and put to one side. We now have to remove our second check. We put our screwdriver in and slowly work check out from the body. Once check is free, we then remove and put to one side. Now that we've removed our check modules from our device, we're able to now service the check modules. We take our first cam check, push down on a flat surface and turn quarter turn. The check module then comes apart with our spring, our washer assembly and our seat. We also have an O-ring inside the seat check module. Check our washer on our seat assembly to make sure that there's no debris. If so, clean or replace as necessary. To put this our check module back together, we take our spring, we insert it into our housing, our O-ring, and we insert the O-ring back into the check module. Once this is sitting back in place, we're then able to take our seat and our washer assembly, push the two back together like so, on the ground, turn quarter turn, and we're now ready to insert the check module back into the assembly. Carry out the same procedure with check module 2. We're now going to check our relief assembly and service if required. To remove our washer off the bottom, we remove the screw and put to one side. We then check our relief assembly boot by removing the top nut, stainless steel washer, and then remove our relief diaphragm boot. Checking to make sure there's no imperfections in the diaphragm. We're then able to replace if need be, or reinstall onto the assembly. Push back relief boot back onto the assembly. We take our stainless steel washer, followed by our captive nut. Tighten by hand only. We're now ready to check our washer on the bottom of our assembly. Check to make sure there's no debris or imperfections. If all okay, we can put it back on. If not, then we need to replace. We take our screw for our relief assembly and screw back into the bottom of the relief assembly like so. Once completed, we're now ready to put this back into the valve. Now that we've serviced our check modules, we can now put the valve back together. First, we take our second check and we slide it back into the body of the valve, ensuring the valve rolls past the O-ring and clicks into place. Next, we take our first check, ensuring the O-ring is free of debris and lubricated. We slide the check back into the valve like so. Next, we take our retainer and insert into the valve. The retainer should drop nice and cleanly down into the valve without force. We then take our relief spring, insert that over the relief outlet. We then take our relief assembly and insert, rolling past the O-ring, in the top housing. Once installed into the top housing, we can then lower our relief the relief assembly down into the relief port like so, ensuring that the top plate O-ring slides nice and freely into place. Holding the top plate down, we then reinsert our bolts. Once the bolts are done up hand tight, we then tighten with our crescent like so. We then isolate our 3 test points, and we're now ready to turn the water on and follow our standard testing procedure. That concludes the service procedure for a Watts 009.